Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about Twin Peaks: The Return, parts 1 and 2. There will be full spoilers after a couple of minutes. Connor brought up the idea that it might be worth giving a quick spoiler-free thing for people who maybe haven't watched Twin Peaks and are wondering if they can jump in to the new season without.
Or alternatively, just for people who have watched the old show and are wondering, is this actually good?
Uh, I might, yeah. I suppose there could be some casual fans that feel that way. I feel like most of
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
they'll be bloodthirsty. I think they're ahead of
Most
the.
likely.
But yeah, so the quick answer to that is no, 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 no. Do not jump to this. Go watch the old show.
Yeah, this will make no sense whatsoever.
It barely makes sense to us, and we watch the old show. Go go watch the
Oh,
old show.
we were taking notes and we just had to go through and decipher our own notes.
Yeah, so I've got pages of the notes here.
Yeah,
It's
as have
it's
I.
it's that type of show. I watch the original show. Watch Fire Walk with Me, which is the movie that came after. It's a prequel movie, but definitely watch it after because it spoils stuff in the show. Maybe
Yeah,
go watch all our old reviews as we watched it as for the first time and talked about it after each episode. Then maybe that would emulate the conversation that you'd maybe have between episodes.
yeah.
So plug for our own videos there, but uh, otherwise we're getting to full spoilers now. For
I mean, just before you
oh
do it, I think it was interesting that you mentioned, Fire Walk with Me then, because tonally, this show is much more in line with that than the actual show. I felt.
oh yeah, no, it is, and I think that's because this is not being. Oh, you're on network TV. You have to make this digestible to people. This
Yes.
is this is purely unadulterated Lynch. Lynch went full Lynch, and I
Yeah, yeah.
loved it.
And I can see maybe some people who were fans of the show not liking that. Maybe it's too far for some people. I mean, not us, obviously, but I can see some people having that reaction because, like I said, the original show, there was a lot of times where it was easily digestible. Still, there was lots of quirky things,
J-
whereas
j-
this
j-
doesn't really have as much of that.
I don't think that's actually as much of a problem as you think it'll be. I'm sure there'll be some, but
Yeah,
kind of going back to my main point about fans who want to know if it's any good to jump into. I feel like all the people who have been waiting for 20 years are exactly the sort of people who are okay with it going full Lynch.
no, I agree. It's more the people who maybe who watched it when it was on, or at some point they've watched it and they liked it, but they maybe didn't love it, and then they've gone, oh, there's a new show, maybe I'll check that out.
Oh
And for
sure.
those people,
That, that that's
maybe this isn't for them.
this is for the people who love Twin Peaks and
Yeah,
loved it for all of the Lynch reasons of Twin Peaks.
definitely.
Um, that's what it is. So full spoilers from this point on for the return parts 1 and 2. Uh, here we go. Okay, so
Should we tackle this chronologically?
oh yes, I think we should. I
Oh,
think
thank God.
that's.
I was worried you might want to jump in the deep end, and I was like, I'm
Oh
not
no,
prepared for that.
oh no, no. Chronologically, I want to talk about every goddamn scene. I don't think there's
Yep.
any stone I want to leave unturned. Um, so I was actually about to skip something. We should mention it opens with a clip, a bit of footage
Yes.
from the finale of season 2, the last episode. Uh, the perfect clip they could have put at the start of this.
The line that made us go crazy when we watched it just a week and a
Yeah,
half ago.
yeah. The moment where Laura says, "I'll see you in 25 years," which perfectly just it's like it's time, it's time.
Yeah.
There's a little snap of the fingers, the little kind of thing that going
Yeah.
down the way, and she's like, "Meanwhile, freeze frame, we're going into it." And then we get the episode 1 opening title sequence, and obviously we didn't know exactly how they were going to do this, but much like Fire Walk with Me did, and obviously I said full spoilers for this. Obviously, it's implied that there's going to be spoilers for the movie and the show up until now
Yes.
as well. All of it's fair game. Um, but I remember in the movie how excited I was when it cut to the Twin Peaks sign and the music kicked in.
Hmm.
And it had a very similar effect here, where it was some very ominous shots. Some of it, and I think it was pretty much all old footage. Certainly, the shot of the girl running and
Yeah.
the hallways definitely looked old, and it goes up to the the image of Laura, the homecoming queen photo.
The classic photo.
Yeah. And there's that low Lynch humming going on throughout all this. There's a lot of that in this episode. In fact, if anything, if there's any slight disappointment, it's that there maybe wasn't enough synthy music from the composer.
Yeah, there was long stretches of just silence.
Yeah, which, don't get me wrong, it did make it feel tense. Like, it gave it this different air to it. It gave it this... And maybe it should feel tense because we don't have the same happy character.
Yeah,
the
things are kind of in the shit right now.
But no, it goes silent for a second, and then the first notes of the theme kick in as the title appears over it. And then it goes to a very similar, not the same as the original show, but similar kind of the waterfalls and...
Yeah, the only one I was disappointed that wasn't there was, the sign, the welcome to, with the population on. I wanted to see, what's the population now?
That was an interesting choice. I'm not sure maybe why they decided to do that. Maybe... I don't know, but obviously the one thing that is really different about it is that it goes into some shots of the red curtains and the floor from the red room and the Black Lodge. And that's fine. And after that, that was before that. It was before the flashback, I think. We got the camera spinning around the floor, and it was like, good luck if you suffer from seizures or have a headache, because that was making my mind spin.
Yeah, I think it was actually like a second or two of that they used in the credits.
They used that again in the credits, yeah. But I think it was the start where it went on for like a good 10 to 20 seconds. It was like a lot of spinning.
Definitely.
So no, this is so far we've talked about old footage. This is how far we've gotten so far. So the first news scene is in black and white. We're in what appears to be the Black Lodge, and the giant is sitting down across from Cooper in his suit.
Yep.
This appears to be our Cooper. It's in black and white, and the giant gives us some clues, as he has done in the past. And I have a theory that this scene actually doesn't take place chronologically with the rest of the episode.
I agree with that. I think the black and white's a clue for a start.
Yeah, of course. I think this is later. I think this is after he gets out. I think this is him getting a message about trying to solve whatever he's trying to solve later down the line.
Yeah, quite possibly.
Because he references things that we just don't understand yet. He says, remember...
Absolutely.
He says, remember 4:30. So obviously we're going to be looking for that number everywhere now.
Yeah.
He says, Linda and Richard, 2 birds with 1 stone.
Just to cut ahead with 4:30, what was the number of the apartment?
It wasn't 4:30. I checked.
Was it not? I was just thinking.
Behind the curtain here, I've watched these 2 episodes twice.
Yes, I've only watched them once. I've literally just finished.
Yeah. So I on the second viewing, I was paying close attention to that apartment number. I can't remember what it was, but it wasn't that.
Right. No, I actually got from the start. He starts with saying, "It is in our house now," and Cooper says, "Is it?" And then he says, "It cannot be said aloud now."
It cannot be said aloud. Oh.
And that's when he goes into remember 430, Richard and Linda, 2 birds with 1 stone.
And then the final point he makes is, "You're far away."
Yes.
Which... Because my first viewing, I was thinking, oh, does that mean he's talking about the doppelganger? He's far away. But now when I watched it again, I thought, oh no, I think this actually isn't set chronologically. I'm wondering if this is...
Yeah, I think he's telling him, no, you're outside now.
Yeah.
This is another one that you're getting in a dream kind of thing. Like we saw in the original show.
Either in a dream or through another bridge, which we'll get to later.
Yeah. That's a fair point.
So yeah, obviously very cryptic, very Lynchian, and unlike the... the original giant scenes were very cryptic, but some of them, there was a bit more to go on as to what he was referring to, whereas here, this is completely new information, all of it.
Yeah, before there were actual clues where, okay, these are clues that things are coming up that you can solve along with it. Whereas this was just, here's some information. Like, it's kind of like he's going to us, hey, remember 430? That's going to be important.
Yeah. So this first scene we have after this is actually, it's in the woods, and we find Jacoby, our psychiatrist, who I'm glad to let him wear the same glasses.
Because it easily lets you know who he is, doesn't it?
Because I didn't really realise it, because obviously it's 25 years. A lot of people look older and different. There was
a couple who If they didn't tell me the name, I wouldn't just gone. I would never have known.
And he and again, that's another very cryptic scene. So a guy's delivering a big box of shovels,
Hmm.
and he's taking his shovels because he wants to bury something. He says he doesn't want help. He's going to do it himself.
Yeah,
I have little to talk about this scene. I don't know.
it's more
Obviously,
just we need to mention that this happened because
I'm sure
it's going to
it'll
be important. Because
yeah
why else would they show it us?
yeah I'm sure it'll be relevant later. But it certainly on its own. I mean, obviously, burying your sins, burying your past. There's a lot of maybe things that you sort of jump to. Just what would the obvious metaphor be, depending on where this goes. But burying the sins of the town. Given that things are about to get or digging things back up because we're coming back to Twin Peaks and we're
Yeah. Do you know, this is one of those scenes where it told me how different this was from the original show straight away. Because in the original show, I'd have written this off as gone, it's just this quirky little thing that's going on, because that's kind of what a lot of things were then.
yeah, stuff
Whereas
like
now I'm
Nadine
going,
plots and stuff like that. It was very much this is just a thing on its own.
yeah. Whereas now I'm looking at this going, no. There's no time for any of that bullshit anymore. Everything means something.
Yeah, no, I feel that way. I think one of the things I want to put, I didn't notice it as much in the black and white scene because it was black and white. But certainly the visual look of this new show, this new season, it's it definitely feels in line with what Lynch has went to in recent years. And obviously, the last time he made a movie was Inland Empire. Inland Empire is notorious because he shot it on like shitty consumer grade like video cameras, and it looks like intentionally terrible. Like that's kind of the point. And this has a weird look to it because it is shot on what looks like to me digital video rather than HD digital video. I mean, it looks, it's high quality, but it doesn't look like film. It doesn't have that feel to it. And
I agree.
It gives it this weird kind of visual sense that feels different. Documentary-esque almost. And the thing with Lynch is that he knows what he's doing. He's picked this. He's intentionally said he wants this.
Yeah, if I had to sum it up in a word, I think I'd say it looks raw.
It looks raw. You're right. It does. I think, not to skip ahead to the scene itself, but when we see Ben's office and the sunlight's hitting them, it feels unfiltered.
Yeah.
Almost to a point where I'm like, oh, does this make this look cheap? I don't know if I can't decide.
Yeah, it feels like it's not had the work done to it yet, doesn't it?
Yeah. That said, though, it's something that if I thought it a few times early on, that those thoughts went away as the episode progressed. Like I was never thinking that anywhere in the second half or.
The only times it really stood out to me later on was when we cut to the cityscape shots of New York.
Well, let's talk about the cityscapes because
that's what comes next.
That is pretty much what comes next. I actually now the fight. So we get to the city of New York, right? And there's this really odd quality to it where it feels kind of fake, but it's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
It looks pretty because I was like, this looks weird, but the glow of it, the Phyllis city, and then the next shot where we cut to this building and the camera's going up, I'm like, okay, this one looks really kind of dodgy in a sort of fake way because it just looks unnatural. But at the same time, there's kind of like an intentional thing to it. Like I almost feel like there is one visual effect later on that I think does just look a bit ropey in an unintentional way. But I feel like this one oddly feels intentional. Like that he wanted it to feel this way.
Yeah, it's kind of like going, "Hey, this isn't quite right. This place is wrong."
Yeah.
That's what it says to you, isn't it?
So, but no, very pretty. But we go into this mysterious room, and it's in a skyscraper, and there's a hole in the wall that has like a sort of almost glass tubing into a glass box in a room. And there's a series of cameras watching the glass box. And there's a man watching the glass box who's across the room, up a little stairway and a little platform and a little, comfy chair. And he's just staring intently at it. It's worth noting, because I actually was paying attention the second time looking for names, we never actually find out his name.
Yeah, and I think that's interesting, because we find out literally everyone else's name.
Yeah, because obviously this girl comes by, Tracy, who clearly has a crush on him. He seems to like her, and she brings him coffee. And she's like, "Oh, can I come in and just sit with you for a while?" And he's like, "No, you're not allowed," because we have that intense security guard who's just staring at them the entire time. And but what I liked about this is you can tell this is Lynch not being held back by network TV, where he's like, no, 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 I want this entire scene showing what he does in this room to play out like like steady paced, where
Yeah,
everything,
it's almost real time of like 3 minutes of just us watching him watch
yeah,
this box.
and that low hum just sort of accompanying it, just to make it feel like there's something ominous about this whole thing, but you don't know what it is.
Yeah.
You see him change an SD card in the camera. The idea that obviously whoever's doing this wants them to be recording at all times, and he
Yes.
takes the camera and he puts it in his little container that's got all the foam. And you can see that there's dozens of cards in there. There's lots of compartments, and you can tell there's so much footage. And obviously, at this point, you're going, there's nothing to go on. I was like, what is this glass box?
Yeah, it looks like just a glass box just in
Yeah.
the side of a building for some reason.
Yeah, and obviously, this is where maybe the sort of the Lynchian style of acting comes in, which I feel like wasn't as prominent in Twin Peaks. You know, when he's talking to Tracy, there's this stilted delivery to the dialogue that again makes it feel kind of raw.
Yeah, it's just it feels like a natural conversation between
Yeah.
two people, but it's not what you think of as a TV conversation. So it
Yeah.
feels odd to watch.
Yeah, but I mean, as a fan of Lynch, as someone who's watched a lot of his movies, this feels later years Lynch kind of thing. And by later, we're talking Mulholland Drive and Inland Empire, because that was, the last time he made a movie was 2006 or 2007.
Yeah, and it's not like he's making any more.
Which is partly why this feels so special. It's like an 18-hour David Lynch movie.
It kind of does feel like it is just one big movie.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't feel like episodes of a TV show at all.
And it also feels like a weird culmination. Obviously, there'll be different bits we get to as we go throughout. But I felt moments were reminding me of certain movies. I felt some scenes reminded me of Mulholland Drive. There were some scenes that were making me think of Eraserhead. There was some that made me think of Inland Empire. It feels like a culmination of his entire body, because he's a director who's worked with a lot of the same themes. The idea of two sides to one person is a recurring theme throughout of a lot of his movies, and obviously Twin Peaks. Like, it's a recurring thing. The idea of a mysterious key or an object, recurring thing. It almost feels like this is like, right, I've been saying really one thing with my entire career. I'm about to just give my final masterpiece and just.
It does make you wonder if this is going to be his final works.
I mean, he's 71. I mean,
Yeah, exactly. So
if he wants to retire and stick, because he does a lot of painting, he likes to make music and stuff now. That's what he's been kind of doing with himself for the last 10 years. And you know what? Like, I would rather he go out on his own terms, make something he wants to make that he's passionate about, and just leave it there. And like, no, I'm done. I'm not going to do, I'm not going to be Ridley Scott and desecrate my own work.
yeah, you can respect that, can't you? You go, no, I've got an idea. I'm going to tell it, but after that, I've said everything I have to say. Is kind of what it feels like. Like you say, he uses a lot of the same themes, and this feels like just capping it all into one piece and going, right, this is it.
Yeah. So Tracy and the box man, or Tracy's boyfriend, we'll call him that. They crack a little joke about her trying to like sneak a peek at the code when he's trying to get in.
Yeah, and I was proper going, right, is she playing him? Is she just trying to get into this room?
Yeah, I thought that for a little bit as well.
Or is she actually there because she likes him? I couldn't tell for a long time.
Yeah. So we'll leave that for now, because we'll come back to that in a little bit. Not by much, admittedly. There's one scene I've got written down here in between. Is Ben and Jerry.
Yeah, and Ben, like, okay, this is one of those guys that's, he's aged, and I wouldn't have recognized him. He was sat at the desk, so I was like, that must be Ben.
I did recognise him, but I think if I didn't, I would have known as soon as he spoke. I think his voice is the exact same.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. But Jerry, on the other hand, as soon as he comes in, it's like, that's Jerry.
What's funny is he looks more different than he does, but again, it's the voice. The voice is the exact same.
It's the persona.
I've also not seen David Patrick Kelly in anything like. I don't think I've seen him in anything post Twin Peaks, because I know him from Commando first, because I knew him growing up watching Commando, and then I've seen him in Twin Peaks. That's cool. I like him. But yeah, he looks. he's got a big white Santa beard. He's looking like a hobo.
But it's the persona, isn't it?
Yeah.
When he comes in and he's got the food, and it's like, that's Jerry.
Yeah, he's apparently in the legal weed business now. He's making a profit. Ben gave up the carrots. He's back on the cigars. Although he seems to still be in his noble kind of phase because,
He does because he's treating them well. He's like, no, you gotta have some respect.
yeah, because Jerry's all, you not sleeping with the new girl yet. And as he points out, he shouldn't call her a girl because of her age, clearly. And it's Ashley Judd, who is, middle-aged. And again, that's a pretty big name who's just, at least for now, in a really small role. Because
Yeah.
I actually did like a double take. She walked in and I went, is that Ashley Judd? Oh, it is. It is Ashley Judd.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
So I want to just, you said, oh, he seems to be in his noble phase. Given that it's been 25 years, I'm not sure it's fair to call it a phase.
Maybe not phase, but you know what I mean. Like the idea that some of those,
Yes,
some of the changes he made where he became a better person seem to have stuck, even if he's still on the cigars.
yeah.
But no, and yeah, I felt like this scene was mostly just catching up with this. There was a funny little line though where Ashley Judd's character, she's called Beverly, who's sort of I guess the person who's running the hotel for him at this point.
Yeah.
Where she covertly drops a C-bomb into a sentence with referring to the guest she has to go and speak to, and she's like, "No, how did the skunk get in there?" Because apparently that's what she was complaining about. But I think that scene, that's probably the first scene where I'm like, "Oh right, okay, they're making use of the fact they're not on network now. They're going to be showing things that they want to."
Yeah. It's definitely not the first, and well, maybe the first. Definitely not the only time in these episodes that you go,
yeah.
"Oh, okay."
Yeah. There's definitely f-bombs later. There's definitely nudity later. There's and even just the violence, the gore is.
Again, that's another sort of reason why it feels closer to Firewalk with Me, because it's like that was very much this is unshackled.
Yeah, and I feel like this makes sense again, given where the plot is, given where we are.
Absolutely,
it makes sense that this is darker.
It can't be light and happy-go-lucky when we have no hero right now.
I think we will get some of that though. I feel like there will be some fun if Cooper, because I do honestly expect Cooper to get out early on, because I feel like that's what the show's going to be. Is Cooper's going to be out and dealing with everything.
I can see it being the middle.
Maybe the middle. I don't think it'll be the end though. And I think some of the light fun stuff will come about when Cooper's back in the town, and he's also been gone for 25 years. So I can see Cooper going, "Oh, this internet's changed a lot." Things like that. Like I could see a lot of the fish out of water stuff being...
Do you know, I was just thinking, one of my, I'd say problems, it's not really a problem, was we didn't really see much of Twin Peaks itself. We didn't see much of the town in these episodes.
We didn't, and
I was just going to say, I think they're saving it for when Coop gets back.
I think that
so
too.
That we can experience it with him.
And honestly, even beyond that, I feel like the episode itself feels like it's building towards going to Twin Peaks. There's a couple of scenes to because we need a couple of things from Twin Peaks, but
yeah.
I feel like even the way that the second part ends, it feels like, oh, this is us now just getting to Twin Peaks in terms of what's going on. And we'll talk about that as we get there, but man, this is going to be the longest.
This is going to be a long one, yeah.
Right.
This is what happens when they give us 2 solid hours.
I know, and it's more packed as well because it feels like everything is important and means something. Right, so we go back to New York. We go back to the Boxman. And one of the cool things they really did here to set up this is that the first time you hear the elevator noise, because it's one of these old-timey elevators with the alarm that goes off and it's got the shutter door.
A freight elevator.
Yeah. It's one of these elevators that I associate in big buildings in New York. Even though you get them everywhere, I associate it.
No, you're right. I do as well.
Do you know what it is? It's because it seems like a lot of old buildings in New York have them in apartment buildings, and not just in places where you'd expect them to have an elevator like this.
Yeah, you're right.
But it has this elevator, and you hear it off in the distance, and when he's in the room. So this second time, he's changing the SD card, you hear it, and you know she's coming. You know what it means this time, and he immediately starts leaving to go there, and this is when things get mysterious because they go out, and the security guard's just not there, and he doesn't know why he's not there. She's like, no one's here, and they're like, oh, this is strange. What's going on? And checks his bathroom, not there. And they go into she's like, oh, does this mean I can come in and stay with you for a bit?
There's no one to stop you.
Yeah, and he does point out something I thought of. Yeah, but what if he's back? What if the guard's back when you try to leave? You'll still get into trouble. And he's like, oh, let's not overthink this gift. Let's just go with it.
She wants in that room.
Yeah, that was maybe the biggest evidence. Was like, oh, is she up to something? And I don't actually think she was, given where it goes.
No, I agree.
I think it is just a genuine attraction between them, and she just does really like them, like him. So they go in, and we get a couple of tidbits. He doesn't even know what this box is. This is just a job for him. He's been paid by some secret millionaire. He doesn't know who it is to keep track of this box. The millionaire believes they saw something in it once.
Yeah, the person who was there before him said they saw something.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean that itself is mysterious. And so here's the thing. So they go up and sit down, and they're both staring. It's again very intentionally paced that you can feel the real time and the sort of they're looking at the box. Then it cuts to the box, and then obviously they kiss, and she's like, "Do you want to make out for a little bit?" And she's like, "What do you think?" And she starts to strip. Yeah, here's some nudity. But they start making out, and do you know what the thing is? As soon as they started like kissing, I went, "This is going to cause something that's about to happen in that box."
Yeah, you're like, okay, he's taking his eye off the ball now.
Well,
So,
that's not how I was thinking. Actually, is that it's not that he was taking his eye off of it. I read it as, well, you know how in in the old show,
yeah.
evil acts bring about the Black Lodge. Love brings about the White Lodge. I was thinking that the passion was going to give a reaction.
Oh, okay.
That it was the passion itself. It was the act of love and lust.
I was thinking, given it's like the whole a watch pot never boils,
Yeah.
and it's as soon as he takes his eye off, as soon as he's not concentrating on it, that's when things happen. And there's something towards the end of the episode that maybe adds to that for me as well.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
I do like your idea as well, though.
Yeah, that was how I was reading it, because I immediately thought something was going to happen because they were being lustful, they were being.
But that's a good point. It's like, is it coincidence or is it a cause?
Yeah, I was looking at it as cause and effect.
Okay.
And then, and I think up until this point, okay, there's some mysterious stuff. I was enjoying it because I like Lynch, but I think this is the point where, oh boy, this is where the show just became what it is, and
Yeah.
why you should be excited.
Up till now, I have a page and a half of notes. I mean, there is a scene we've skipped here, but we'll get to that in a minute. But when this happens now, my notes, I literally just put, okay then. And I was like, I'll know what that means.
Oh god. So the box gets darker, and then you see like a sort of white figure in the box, seemingly naked, looks female. It's shaking a lot, so it's hard to get a fix on things.
Yeah, it's very fuzzy.
But it seems to be missing part of its face. It seems to be missing an eye specifically. And I wasn't thinking Nadine, even though it was a funny thought.
Yeah.
But it's shaking, and they notice it. He notices it first. And like, stop, like, and she like turns around, and she's looking at it, and it shakes violently and it hits the glass, and that scares the shit out of them. And this is terrifying for us, I think, as well. It's just creepy as shit.
Yeah.
I think it's almost a shame that Lynch has never just done a straight horror movie, because I feel like he gets dread and creepiness like no one does.
He does, but I feel like maybe he just has no interest in it because he
Probably.
just uses it so well in anything else.
Yeah, just have the horror. Maybe the horror is more effective because it is in something that doesn't have it all the time. It is none of those. Yeah. But it breaks the glass and it comes shimmering towards them, and then it's sort of shaking in front of them, so you can only make out part of it, but you can see it slicing them repeatedly, presumably with the broken glass. You can hear
the slashing, and you can see the blood.
Yeah, the red's what sticks out, and that's how the scene ends. It is like proper nightmare feel, and I was like, oh shit.
Yeah, like I said, my notes just said okay then, and I was like, that's enough.
And I feel like, okay, let's say Cooper gets out. Let's say they somehow either deal with Bob, Bob Cooper, Cooper Bob.
Bob.
Doppelcoop.
Doppelcoop. Yeah.
Yeah. Coop Ganger, not Doppelcoop. So, let's say they deal with that, but it feels like, oh no, there's a bigger thing to deal with here. There's a bigger... And obviously I'm expecting this to somehow connect to the Twin Peaks mythology. Obviously at this point I don't know how.
But everything points to it will connect.
Yeah. But fantastic scene. And this is actually one that, because I said to Connor before he watched it, I had a weird point to make about the teaser trailer they put out that just showed you like still images almost of various things. And obviously it comes out to play again later, but I feel like most of the new characters in that teaser that they show us, and they go, oh, there's a new character, there's another new character, almost all of them die in the first episodes.
I can't remember the trailer well enough to.
We see Boxman. Boxman, we see him staring at the. We don't see what he's staring at, but we see him staring.
Okay.
So he's dead. There's another big example I have from later on as well. But it was this interest, and I just thought. So not only did that trailer reveal nothing, even the new faces it did show you don't even last long. It's like the rest of it now is even more mysterious.
Yeah, I do want to question though: are both of them dead?
Oh, no, to be fair, yeah. I mean, just because they're dead doesn't mean we're not going to see them again.
well, no. But even that, I mean, we see them bleeding, but we don't see them dead.
Oh, true, true.
And there is a line later on that makes me think maybe she survived.
Okay.
But yeah, we'll get to that scene when we get there.
Point that when you get to it. What did we miss? Did we miss the Lucy scene? Is that what you were talking about?
No, we missed the first time we see Doppelkoop. That happens before this.
Shit. Yeah.
Because we see the sexy Mercedes. I think it was a nice SLK. And then out he steps.
Yeah. Yeah. Although I think we did skip the Lucy scene then, because the Lucy scene's before that.
There's a Lucy scene before that as well.
Yeah, because I remember it ending from the Lucy scene, and then it goes into that music, that loud drums.
Yeah, you're right.
As the car's going down the road and it's dark, and it's just the headlights lighting the way.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. It basically this scene is Doppelkoop retrieving a couple of people. To help with whatever he's doing. We see he's a bit of a badass because he's the guy at the door tries to threaten them with a shotgun, gets his ass kicked, and twice, and both in very swift movements. He barely has to try. He just kind of
just on a visual point. I love that he's got long hair.
Is this Bob like?
Yeah, he's the long haired man.
Yeah. But even the way the hair goes back, it's kind of like Bob's hair.
It is, yeah. Even the way he carries himself, every so often he'll be stood in the corner of a room, and he'll just be stood there the same way. You know how often we saw Bob just in the corner of a room, just stood there watching. It was very similar to that.
Yeah, and obviously the actor who played Bob passed away.
Yes.
In the 90s, so we couldn't have him back. So this is a good way of honouring kind of what he did, is giving the performance through whoever he's possessing.
Yeah.
So that's a good thing. And again, this is another really weirdly Lynchian scene where, I think the name of Otis, the guy he's talking to, is drinking something out of a jar, and he's just got this weird smell in his face, and it's just this awkward silence, and there's people in the corner just watching.
Yeah. They were weird.
Yeah. And we get just the people come out that Daria and Ray.
Yeah, first we have I believe her name was Beulah, and he asks her to get Ray and Daria.
Yeah. I mean, I have nothing to say about Beulah or Otis yet. I mean, we'll see if they pop up again.
I don't even know if they'll show back up at this point. They could be just those people that they're the sort of people who could just be there to do this and that's it.
Yeah. What's interesting actually is if you do watch this split up, this is the only time you see Doppelkoop in the first episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you don't see him again until part 2. So just worth mentioning. So this is actually where we get to kind of. It's almost like the first half of the first part is about this box. That's the main plot we're kind of focused on. Even though it's only 2 scenes, it feels like the main thing. And then it shifts to a new plot.
This is where we move to South Dakota.
Which does feel connected, mainly because when they find the corpse's head, it looks like the head of the thing that attacked Tracy and Boxman.
It's also just the idea of finding this corpse is reminiscent of Laura Palmer.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Just it says it feels connected in that sense as well to the overall show, because I feel like going to this completely different location with this whole new case, that could just feel like, oh, what's this for?
Oh yeah, I just mean it actually goes straight from the scene where that happens to Tracy and Boxman to Dakota, and then it ends with finding this corpse, head and second corpse. And the way the eye's missing, it was very reminiscent, at least from what I can see of that white figure who attacked them.
Yeah,
it was very reminiscent.
You really can't see much.
No, which obviously leads to all right, so so someone's killed her violently, and she's became this vengeful spirit or something. Your head starts racing with this stuff. But let's not gloss over how we get to that body, because the whole thing again is very Lynch. It's very the Lynch style of comedy, where we have this neighbour who keeps forgetting things. She's very
like
forgetful.
her own address.
Like her own address. She forgets that she has the key, so when the police show up and they're getting annoyed because she keeps not getting to the point, she keeps saying like, "Oh, such and such has the key. Ah, but he's out of town. He's at the hospital. He's at the mental hospital. Oh, but his brother has a key. I don't know his brother. Maybe the repairman knows his brother. He's the
His
superintendent.
name was Hank.
Hank. Oh yeah, I've got a bunch of names written down. I got Hank. I got Chip. I got Harvey.
I remembered Hank because, well, Hank.
Yeah. So they go out and they find Hank behind the building, and he's like, "Oh, did Harvey send you?" He's all nervous, and he's like, "Oh no, I don't know anything about this." And the police aren't even interested in him because the neighbor comes back out and says, "Oh, by the way, I water our plants. So I've got a key."
Yeah, and he's like, Am I free to go?"
He says that repeatedly. Honestly, I expect to see him again, but the biggest thing I want to point out about Hank is the giant ass smartphone he was using in the following scene when he was contacting Harvey.
Yeah, that's fair.
It was like a brick,
Yes, it was.
and it was just there. Like we wouldn't notice this giant ass phone.
I think that was probably the point. Go, hey, look, we can have phones now.
Yeah, but other characters use normal size phones.
They do, but they just wanted one, so you're aware.
But you think that was the point of the giant phone, is to show the audience that we have smartphones now, so the characters can use them.
Maybe. Some people just like big phones. What can I say?
So they get in, they find the body. Detective shows up. I didn't get his last name, but his name's Dave. And Constance, who's like the CSI forensic specialist, is in doing her business. Who's played by an actress who I don't know the name of the actress, but I recognised her and I had to think about where I knew her from. She was on Frasier. She dated Niles for a season on Frasier. In case anyone's thinking, I know her face from somewhere. It might be that, because that's
Good
where
memory.
I know her from. But yeah, so they lift the cover up and it's a different body. This is where I was speaking about the dodgy special effect that didn't quite look just intentional.
Yeah.
Because it appears to be like CG, this body, and it just kind of looks a bit weird.
Yeah, it's meant to look bloated, but it just looks strange.
Yeah, it looks like it's not really on the bed. But whatever. I'm not going to harp on it too much. But obviously that sets up, okay, right, so we've got two bodies then. We've got a head and a body. And what's going on? And so yeah.
And where's the rest of her body and where's his head?
Log Lady calls Hawk, and I think I want to point out here is when I was watching her scenes in these two parts, and she's got like her respirator in and all that, and she looks sort of weak, and I was like, this doesn't feel like an acting choice. This feels like she actually is just this way, and this is how they'll fit her into the show. And I looked it up, and the actress passed away while they were filming. So it's a shame. It makes these scenes especially sad, especially when she says later on, "I'm too weak to go with you," and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
you feel it a little bit.
Can I just say, did we know her name was Margaret? Because
Yeah, we did.
Hawk was saying it a lot, and I was like, I don't remember, because obviously we always just think of her as Log Lady.
Yeah, no, I remember. I'm pretty sure Truman introduced her as that, and then said, "But we just call her the Log Lady." So from then on, it was just Log Lady.
Yeah, but I've never heard someone say her actual name as much as Hawk did.
So much so that in the credits they put in brackets Log Lady next to her character name,
Yeah.
because that's what people really know her as. But she calls it, "Oh, my log's got a message for you,"
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, aye, what's that then?" And she's like, "Oh, it's to do with Cooper."
And she says, something is missing and you have to find it. It's to do with Agent Cooper.
And
The way you'll find it has to do with your heritage.
there you go. There you go, word for word. You don't note down the whole thing.
I did.
Yeah, which obviously we're like, okay, yeah. What do they know about Cooper actually right now? That is my first thought watching this scene. Like, how much do they know? And obviously we find out later on. For them, he's just been missing for decades. But like, so, and that's all you get in that scene. Obviously, it comes back into play later, but that's all you get for that scene. So we go back to the case.
Yeah, we get the identification of the head. Her name was Ruth Davenport, and they confirm that was her. And the body is male, but they do not know who.
Yes. And they find fingerprints in the apartment. They look it up, and it turns out to be Bill Hastings, who's a principal at the local high school,
Yes.
because the forensic Constance, she recognises him because like her kid goes to that school. She's like, oh, I know who that is. What the hell?
Yeah, yeah. He seems to be a well-known figure in the community.
Yeah. And it turns out Dave also is friends with him. He went to high school with him, so he's known him a long time. So we go to his house and he arrests her. One point I want to arrest him. One point I want to think is their knocker on the door was a wolf.
I noticed that as well, and I thought it was especially strange they opted not to use the knocker. Don't want to disturb the wolf.
Yeah.
Because obviously it's right there. That's what it's for. But no, they still knocked on the door with the hand.
Yeah, that's a good point. So, yeah, so that's all. He gets arrested. He says, "Oh, I didn't do anything wrong."
Yeah.
Call George, who we find out later is he's a lawyer.
I would just want to point out his wife is especially strange. Like, or even then in that scene, because I wrote down as a quote, as they're taking him away, she just shouts out, "But the Morgans are coming for dinner." Like that's what she's concerned about.
Yeah, that's again a very sort of David Lynch kind of a moment. Yeah. So that was kind. I didn't have a lot of notes for a lot of the rest of this specific episode because it kind of just followed on from there for the most part through this plot line, where he's in the holding interrogation room and he goes in and talks to him and he asks him all these questions like, when was the last time you seen Ruth? Do you know her very well? And he's like, oh, I recognise the name. She's the librarian kind of thing. Works at the school, but he's not formal with her. And you can tell that when he asks, he points out, oh wait, you had a meeting till 9:30, then get home till 10:20. Is that normal amount of time it takes to get home? And you can tell, oh wait, there's something he doesn't want people to know. And he kind of he gives the excuse, oh, I gave my assistant a ride home. You kind of think, oh, he's probably having an affair, and that seems to be the case the more we learn about him.
Yeah.
And obviously the detective eventually says to him, look, she's turned up dead, your fingerprints are all over that room. And he freaks out, he wants a lawyer. The thing is, though, is I do believe him.
I do as well, based on a scene in the next episode.
Yes, but like even at this scene, I was kind of like, I do get the feeling like the fact that his fingerprints there in Twin Peaks says to me he didn't do it. I know that's a really
no, I agree with you there. Yeah. It was like, no, this is too clean.
Yeah, it's not him, but obviously Peaks being Peaks is the thing. But we actually they get a warrant and they go to his house and like, they say his wife, we're going to search. Is that his car? And they search his car. Now, a couple of things. So obviously in the trunk, the boot, they find a bit of flesh. And one thing I really point out about this scene that I really liked, a great bit of foreshadowing that hints at what's going on as to who might be involved. The detective's torch, his flashlight, isn't working properly, and it's flickering.
It's such a great little touch, isn't it?
It's flickering, just when Bob's showing up, in the red room or whatever, we get flashing lights. That is a thing that we've seen. It's a sign that he's coming. Yeah. And even if it's not specifically him, it means that someone from the lodge, some evil force from the Black Lodge, is responsible, if not directly him. I mean, it probably is him. I'm not saying it isn't. I'm saying...
Yeah, I mean, the things that we learn later on imply that it's his doing, if not directly him that did it.
Yeah, sure, yeah. The reason why I say not necessarily him is because we also see in Fire Walk With Me that we also get a flashing light even if like an angel from the White Lodge shows up. So I think it's a denominator of anyone who comes from that part, that other world.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's not necessarily that they're doing it, but something left the lodge. Yes,
yeah. That's what I got from that scene. And that's actually the scene that ends the episode if you're watching them split up.
Yeah, one little bit. Obviously, we talked about how we learn a little bit more about how they know how long Cooper's been gone in Twin Peaks. We get that little scene with Andy and Lucy.
Yeah, we skipped over that.
Yeah. And there's not much there. We just learn. Oh yeah, they've got the kid. It's called Wally.
Yeah, he's 24 years old, which sounds about right.
Yeah, yep. And Hawk's like, hey, we'll do this. We've got to go through all these files. I'll bring the donuts. I was like, Some things have not changed. Still Twin Peaks.
I like that he's like, we're going to look through these files. He trusts the log lady enough that he's going to investigate this. He has a feeling that there's something up, and he gets them. I will point out again with Andy. I mean, he still looks. You can still tell it's Andy easily, but his voice has not changed at all. So same with Lucy actually. Lucy and Andy sound like Lucy and Andy.
Lucy's pretty changed one of the least actually. Like she's immediately recognizable.
Yeah. A few wrinkles, but she looks like her.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Andy, obviously, he's lost some hair, got a bit of a pot belly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's normal as you get older.
That feels like. To be fair though, Andy's hair was never that healthy looking in the original show anyway.
It wasn't, but it just feels like he's had his fair share of donuts.
Oh, he has. Yeah, and to be fair,
and I do not blame him.
With the table of donuts that Lucy puts out in that police station, it does not surprise me that he's put on a bit of weight.
Yeah. If that's what she does at work, just imagine what he has at home.
Yeah, we glossed over Lucy's actual first scene. We mentioned it happened, we did never mention what it was.
You're right.
There was a guy who comes into the station asking for Sheriff Truman, and she says, "Which one? One is sick, one is fishing." Now, I know the actor who played Truman is retired. It's not bad news, unlike some of the other ones where they've passed away. This is just, he's retired, he's not acting anymore. And I feel like we're going to get his brother as a character. That's why she says which one. I feel like he's going to have a brother who's also a sheriff. And
brother or son? I mean, son would be a bit young
son.
To be sheriff, I guess. But
yeah, he didn't have a kid in the
he
original
didn't,
show.
But I mean, a couple of years, it could be, 22.
I'm going to say
but
it's still young because Hawk would be sheriff, I think.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, because Hawk's clearly in charge when the sheriff's not around.
Yeah, I mean he's the deputy sheriff now.
Yeah, he's not letting Andy call the shots because, well, I mean the town would be on fire by day 2.
That's ambitious. I think they would.
Oh dear. But yeah, so he leaves his card and listens.
He says he's there for insurance. And do you know what this scene actually reminded me a lot of? The scene where the one-armed man comes the first time to see the sheriff. He's like, he wants to sell shoes.
Yeah, I can see it.
And it was reminding me a lot of that in just the way it was set up, and the way it was there, but the sheriff was out, and he's like, "No, I want to do this. Tell him to get in touch."
Yeah. That's fair. So I think to sort of sum up this first part of it, then this episode, on a horror level, the sense of dread, the sense of mystery about this new threat, and then the little connection to this murder, I think fascinating. I mean, yes. I don't want to just. It's weird to sum up just the first part because really it's one whole, 2-parter, but no.
But it is still part 1.
So no, I approve so far. I was into it.
As was I.
I was very much into it. And I do feel like a big chunk of this first part is going to be a lot like the opening to Fire Walk With Me, in the sense that we're going to get to Twin Peaks proper a bit later. And I feel like we're still in this phase of introducing all these elements. I feel like all roads are going to lead to Twin Peaks as we get further down the story.
This is sort of the way where this does feel like Fire Walk With Me is important, in the sense that, it establishes
just wait until we get to part 2.
No, I just mean in the sense that established that these other cases, that the Blue Rose cases, stuff goes on, and they investigate all over the country. This kind of feels like that as well, where okay, we're in South Dakota, this is weird, but we're related.
Actually, the scene where the detectives or the policemen find the body in the apartment building, that reminded me a lot of Mulholland Drive. I was feeling such Mulholland Drive vibes in that scene.
Yeah, you're right. It's the way that where it looks over to the bedroom, you can just see the edge, and then
even just the blue thing in the table, the bedside table, reminded me of like the blue box from Mulholland Drive. I was just getting a lot of Mulholland Drive vibes. Maybe because it was in a location. I mean, obviously it's in Dakota and not LA, but it was a sunny day, so it felt like it could have been LA almost.
Sure.
I mean, we'll see this one apartment building. It's not like indicative
that's true.
The whole thing. So, was it North or South Dakota? I can't remember.
South.
Whatever. As John Oliver says, that's why you have 2 Dakotas, in case one goes missing, you've still got the other one.
Exactly.
But yeah. Do you know what's amazing is I'm still on the first page of my notes. I have more notes for part 2 than I do part 1.
I went through 3 pages of notes, but I've still got like another 6 pages.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm on a slightly smaller size paper
Oh,
than
that's
you,
fair.
to be
That's fair.
fair.
Because I think as we get to episode 2, there was a lot more in the lodge, the Red Room. And I was worried that a lot of that was going to blend together and I wasn't going to remember details. So I got really... On my second viewing, that is the first viewing, I just paid attention. Like...
Oh no, this is why my writing's such a mess. It's what I do when I'm in the cinema as well. Like, I can't see what I'm writing. I'm just, shorthand jotting things down without looking down, keeping my eyes on the screen. They ain't going anywhere. But yeah.
Right, so we open episode 2 with Phyllis coming to see her husband. Bill, the arrested principal, aforementioned. And she comes into the cell, and at first it seems like he's going to tell her about an affair. He's like, "Oh, I need to tell you something," because he's like, to prove my innocence here, I'm going to have to fess up about this other thing. And the scene goes in a completely different direction than you feel it's going, because she's like, "I know about your affair. Your prints are all over that." It's like she wants him to go to prison. And then he's like, "I know about your affair with George." And
yeah, I mean, I was surprised it took us this long to get to affairs in Twin Peaks, frankly.
I think it's obviously though, yeah, but this is only one, and the original Twin Peaks we had like 4 of them by the time we ended the pilot.
Oh, that's true. I mean, he was having an affair, but she was having an affair, and maybe more than one. So that's at least 2, if not 3.
I don't know. I'm gonna same couple. I'm counting it all as one umbrella.
I don't know. Sketchy.
Tough.
But yeah, no. The bit of this thing that I really found interesting is he is very insistent he didn't do it. And he's insistent, the affair happened, but he wasn't there that night. He dreamt he was there.
What? I never took it as he was having an affair with her.
Or did you not?
I thought he was having an affair with his secretary, or his assistant,
okay.
that he drove home.
Okay, that makes sense.
And she's mentioned later on by other characters, so she's also important.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe he did have an affair with her at some point as well.
Maybe I'm being naive, but I actually kind of believed him when he was like, "I don't even know where she lives." Like...
No, okay.
But then things get really interesting because he says he dreamed that he was there.
Yeah, and like that night he dreamt he was there.
Yeah, and obviously that feels very Twin Peaks. That makes us think of Cooper thinking about the lodge, all that kind of stuff. It really brings that up, and it's like, was he there in like an astral projection? I mean, admittedly, would that leave fingerprints? I don't know.
But yeah, this is the thing. We've seen when Cooper dreams, it's not a dream. He is there, but maybe not when he's dreaming it, but he is there.
And the question is, if he never actually gets around to seeing what he saw in the dream. He just says he was there. Like, did he watch her be killed? Did he see that?
Did he commit that in the dream?
Yeah,
and again, if this is like Cooper's dreams, where he just receives things that have happened at a different time.
The thing is, though, I mean, if I'm making a guess right now, I think, given another scene that we're getting to in a minute, I think his wife did it.
Yeah.
And she set him up, but the dream's like part of it because, we're dealing with, lodge characters and whatnot.
I agree, because she is definitely, we're getting to this now. She is from the lodge. I think that's pretty clear.
It seems that way.
The line that tells me that for almost definite is Cooper saying, "You do a good job of pretending to be human."
Yeah. But then he kills her anyway,
with George's gun.
With George's gun again, it kind of. Even though how could he possibly have done it? Like the police, they have him in a cell at the time, and she came to visit him, so it's physically impossible that it could have been him. But
I mean, it could have been George.
Oh, sure.
Because I mean, just Bill's in the cell, and George
it was George's gun. I thought it was Bill's gun.
No, it was George's gun.
Ah, okay, well, that makes more sense.
And I'm also questioning: is George from the lodge as well? Because when she comes out, she says to him, "He knows." Now, is she just referring to the affair, or is she referring to more?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Like, is she going, he dreamt it and he knows what happened?
Yeah, maybe.
And it was, the reason that Doppelkoop frames him, for whatever reason, could be related to do with that.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, that stuff connects, but let's not gloss over the end of the jail scene.
No. Let's not,
because after she leaves and she has that moment with George in the entranceway, we cut back to Bill, and the camera, tracks down the cells, and gets to another one, where I'm seeing people online refer to him as the Charcoal Man, because he appears to be covered in like a black suit, kind of like
Yeah. That works for me. We'll go with that.
Charcoal Man.
Yeah.
And he's just sitting there very still, and he starts to fade away. But then his head, mid-fade, starts to float up the way. With a different expression on his face, might I add, as well.
Yes.
I mean, I have nothing to offer on him right now.
The question is, does Bill see him? Or is it just something that we see?
I don't think he sees him, because he's not even looking over in that direction. Because he's got his head down, it doesn't seem like he's noticed anything.
No, I agree.
It seems like something's there, like some spirit from the lodge or something like that is there because it's relevant to what's just happened. Because
it seems to be watching him.
Yeah.
Observing.
Is this the exact thing? Is this the one that's inside her? Or is this something else that's watching what's going on because it's relevant to the lodge? Like, because as we get further through the episode and we see stuff in the lodge with the other characters talking about it, they're kind of monitoring to an extent what's going on. They want things fixed. They want this doppelganger to come back, and all this stuff seems to be connected. And we'll get to more of that as we get to some of that dialogue. But so we have that. So that's all fun. Now, okay, I want to talk actually. So Doppel Cooper shoots Phyllis, kills her. Yes. I want to point out an effect here. There's a really interesting. I don't know if you caught this, but when she gets shot, there's like a sort of blood spatter, but the blood spatter is very intentionally unnatural. It kind of looks like it almost looks like the spirit of someone's going up the way.
Yes.
It is a very specific choice. It's a very intentional direction the way the blood goes up like that, and it really stuck out to me because Lynch likes to use these little edits. We see it a lot in the lodge itself, where there'll be these little cuts that make like blinking look really unnatural and stuff like that.
Yeah. Sometimes it'll just look like it's stuttering. Time's not quite running right.
Yeah. And it kind of felt like something left her body, but
yeah. No, I can see that.
But I want to point that out. So we get a scene in Las Vegas. We cut to Las Vegas for a new character. And we have Mr. Todd and we have Roger. Roger, who was reminding me a lot of Iron Fist, unfortunately.
Do you know what? When he walked in, at a distance, I was like, "Is that knob?"
Is that Danny
and then he got close. I thought, it's fine. It's fine.
He's just got a similar haircut and beard. This is fine.
Yeah.
Mr. Todd, of course, was in Mulholland Drive. Not the character, but the actor.
Yes.
So yeah, just want to point that out. But they're cryptically talking about something. Todd hands Roger some money and says she has the job.
Now, this is why I was speculating perhaps Tracy is still alive, and it was referring to her being the one to replace him in the job of watching the box.
That's interesting. I didn't connect it to that. I connected it to something else.
What did you connect it to?
I connected it to a certain hit job on a certain doppelcoup.
Oh, yeah.
To Daria. That's who I thought they might have been talking about.
Oh, they could well have been, because he keeps referring to him, which I assumed was Cooper. Yeah,
he makes you do these things. Like, why do you do it? And then he like responds, "I'll never let someone do this to you, or to have someone like this in your life." He says.
Yeah, but also I was still thinking of this Cooper in my angle as is Cooper involved? Well, Doppel Cooper involved in this box. Is this part of his plan to not go back?
Yeah, I did have that thought. I have the thought that he's done that, but that's us assuming that this is the millionaire behind that.
Yeah, that was what my assumption there was. Which
and I think the first time I did, but in the second time because I knew the hit job was coming, I was like, oh, that's
true. Yeah.
Especially since I feel like a hit job you give like a wad of cash rather than I feel like if you hire someone to constantly do something like that job, it's more of a salary I guess.
No, I agree with that. I imagine that the wad of cash was like, here, look, she might feel a bit strange after what had happened, but if you wave a wad of cash at her, like that has more effect than just a number.
Yeah, you're right.
But I do agree. When I watched that scene, obviously. I've only seen it once, so I did not know about the hit.
But I actually kind of like that idea. But I think if it is, I don't think that she went in there auditioning for that job. I think she's now being picked by circumstance that she survived and saw something.
I agree, and the reason I was thinking that is the guy mentioned, someone else before him had a job and saw something, and it made me go,
Yeah.
right, why is he here now then? Like, why him? And I was wondering maybe it's a cycle like that where it rotates through them for some reason.
How did he get picked though? Like, how did the baton get passed to him if that's the case?
That's the bit I don't know,
Aye.
but yeah,
You bring me questions and no answers, Connor. Come on.
what can I say? You mean that kind of sums up Lynch, though, doesn't it? Questions and no answers.
Oh dear. I want to point out after that scene we cut to a shot of a railroad crossing.
Yeah, it just we just watch this freight train go past.
Yeah. At night time, and then that's it. And obviously, I'm like, okay, symbolism.
Yeah.
There's symbolism here. We're at a crossing, and obviously, later on, we hear Doppelcook talk about how it's time to go back, and we hear them in the lodge talking about how now's the time it can happen. And remember from the original show that it's when Saturn lines up with Jupiter, or
Yeah, yeah.
whatever, that's when the path is open, as it were. And I wonder if the crossing here is just a simple metaphor for we're at this point where the gate is literally open.
See, no. See, this is where I think you've got that slightly wrong. The crossing is blocked. It's a crossing when the gates are open, but we watch the gates
Oh,
close
sure.
and the
Okay,
train
sure,
come
yeah.
past. The whole point is the crossing isn't open; it's been blocked.
But it's about to be open.
Yes, or it should be open. Like when you
Okay.
when you walk up to one of those, usually that is open. That's a crossing you can go through.
Surely for that metaphor to work though, the train should not come. Surely, if you're saying it should be open, but it's not, surely you would see it go down. The alarms would go off, the noise, and then there would be no train.
No, because usually you'd be in a car and that's your crossing over the train tracks, right?
Right?
So because the trains come, the train is what's blocking the crossing.
No, just because I picked up on what you said there, where it should be open, but it's not. So I think if it was saying that specifically,
Oh right, yeah, okay, I get it.
it would be, oh no, the barriers come down, but there's just no train.
Yeah, no, I get you.
Yeah. I mean, no, you may be right. I think it's certainly we're hitting along the right lines of what it's referring to. It's just a case of what is the exact message that it's saying about it.
Yeah, this will be fascinating to look back on after a handful of episodes and see if we know any more.
Oh yeah. So some rewatching between episodes, I think something's going to happen as we go. Because the thing about the new episodes is we don't have 25 years of like online theories and well written, curated ideas that people have put together.
To be fair, I think we did quite a good job in our watch through
Oh, no,
of
I think we
avoiding
did.
most of that and going
Yeah.
fresh with our own perspectives.
I think we did. There was the odd thing where like, oh, I need to get the exact words that the giant said, and I looked something up or
Yeah.
things like that. But yeah, there wasn't a whole bunch of it. But
But this time I know that resource isn't available to me to just Google, so I'm writing down notes.
I also feel like this time it is actually a lot more cryptic. I feel because Twin Peaks, the original show, you'd have there'll be a weird thing at the end of episode 3, but there'd be like 2 full episodes of straightforward storytelling for the most part, maybe a bit quirky.
Yeah, because it was quirky, but it wasn't weird for 3 or 4 episodes, like I said.
Yeah. So I think that's a big part of it. So we come back to, obviously we've seen Doppelkoop when he killed Phyllis, but we come back to him and he's in a diner with the others. There's this mechanic guy named Jack, who we've not seen
Yes.
before, but he's also with Daria and Ray. And so a few points that I've written down about this scene. So basically he Doppelkoop says that, oh, after tomorrow I'm going to have to disappear for a little while. And you get the sense that he's worried about something. And obviously, given scenes that we got in the lodge, it's because this is the time where he's vulnerable to go back.
Yeah.
And he doesn't want to go back. So he's concerned about it, and that's kind of a thing. He also goes on a little tirade because Ray starts questioning why because he says he needs this information from Bill Hastings' assistant.
Yes.
Because he mentions that name. And I'm like, wait, do we know that name? I put my page back. Bill! It was Bill! Yeah, so for some reason, she has information. And this is where it kind of connects these plots together. It's like, okay, right, so not only did he show up and kill Phyllis and she was someone from the lodge, but he also wanted something from his assistant, which means he knew something. And it seems, and from later on in the episode, we find out what he wanted was coordinates.
Yeah.
Which raises all sorts of questions. What are
Yeah.
these coordinates? Because we know if he's behind the box, he has the box. But if he doesn't have the box, if he's not behind the box, is he looking for the box?
That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
he's going, all right, where is this box? And
Yeah.
at what part of this he goes on? You said he goes on a tirade. It's when Jack says he needs this information, and he's like, no, I don't need it. I want it. And he goes on this whole rant about
I think you
how
mean Ray.
I said, yeah,
Yeah,
it's right.
yeah,
Yeah. And he goes on this whole rant about how he doesn't need anything. It's just things that he wants. And that was, this big whole thing with the Black Lodge. It's this lust, this desire for things. It's not a need. It's not necessity. It's greed.
And it's also this weird purpose. Like, under no circumstances he want to look weak. Like, he needs help or he needs something.
Yeah.
It's no. I want this, and if you don't do it, I'll probably kill you. But I don't need it.
Yeah.
So I think that was but yeah, they're talking about Bill's secretary's car, and if you remember in the previous scene with Bill, he said there was something wrong with her car. I gave her a lift home. And if he was having an affair with the librarian, maybe it makes sense that he was actually just telling the truth about taking her home because her car was something up with it. But you get the sense that they have tampered with it. So
Definitely.
interesting. And now they're like covering the tracks or whatever, or maybe they're looking for where the car went. Like if I mean, Bill's not a millionaire, but like, let's say he is connected to the box. Maybe they're looking for the coordinates through the car's GPS or something like that. Like, I don't know. Just...
Like I say, he's not a millionaire. But he definitely seems reasonably well off.
Oh yeah, he got a nice enough house, but I mean, they say private millionaire in that other scene, but maybe that's just speculation. But then again, he's renting out this big, sort of apartment or this big block in this.
Yeah, he's paying someone to sit there and watch it.
A security guard, all these cameras, like. It feels like a relatively high-tech operation.
I agree.
But it does make you wonder, where did this box come from? Did this millionaire build it? Was it already here? Did someone else build it? Did someone from the lodge build it?
Was it always there and they built the skyscraper to get to it?
What, in the sky? It was just floating in... maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I have no reason to say it wasn't.
It wouldn't shock me. It would not shock me. So continuing on with Hawk getting the call from Log Lady, he's on the phone to her again, and he's out in the woods and he's looking for the entrance to the lodge.
Yes.
And what I love about this scene is that it plays very similar to when Cooper or the sheriff was looking for it in the finale, where it's just a torch and the flashlight on the trees in the dark.
It also very much reminded me of the first time we saw Cooper in the first episode here, with the headlights from the car.
Yes, I agree with that.
Because at first I thought maybe, before we saw it was Hawk, I thought, are we back to Cooper, back to that, because it was so reminiscent of that.
Yeah. So, yeah. So he's looking, and he's talking to her about, and they're just kind of having a nice conversation. And he does find it. He finds the little...
Yeah.
Little
I've
circle
got all the
trees.
conversation again, though, if you want it.
Go on, yeah, hit us with the conversation.
So she asks her, where are you walking tonight? And there's supposed to be something happening here tonight. And then she says, the stars turn and the time presents itself. Walk carefully.
Yeah, I think that just ties into the lining of the planets that opens the path. Yeah, I think that's just sort of hitting at that.
Yeah, definitely. And then that's when she says she's too weak to go with him and asks him to stop by. So I don't know if we'll actually get to that or if it'll be, be the case of he was too late.
Maybe. Do you know what this reminded me of, actually? It was almost make I feel ashamed that we couldn't get Truman back, because I really, in that finale, felt his friendship with Cooper, that he sat out there all night waiting for him to come back.
Yeah.
And it made me think of that, and I'm like, oh, it's a shame we won't get him to see his friend again when he comes out.
No,
So
I agree.
It's a little shame, but it did make me think of that. And I don't know if he sees the curtain, but we see a couple of the curtain fading in. The entrance.
I think he sees it. I think that's the idea, because obviously he gets to the sycamore trees and the pool, and then...
It was funny, because at this point I was almost thinking, is Cooper going to get out at the end of this episode? Are we going to see Cooper come out of that curtain? Because this was before they started saying, oh, the doppelganger must come back before you can leave.
This was actually only about a third through the episode.
Oh, because a lot of it was in the Red Room once we got to that.
Yeah.
But like, I was thinking at this point, maybe he gets out. Maybe he's told that since the gateway is open, you can leave, and maybe the job for this season is finding him and getting him back. Like that is good Cooper's mission. But no, obviously they throw that away because they say, oh, you can't go out until he comes back. But I wonder if maybe it still ends up being the mission somehow, or... Because it would feel weird if we somehow deal with evil Cooper, if we deal with Bob, like, early.
Yeah, yeah, I know what you mean.
But
Unless they establish something else, if
mm,
they spend the next 2 or 3 episodes establishing, something big that this Bob fella's nothing. This doesn't even matter. Like there's more important things to worry about.
yeah, is this shimmering thing in the box the real big bad? That's
Yeah.
like,
I will say I will be very disappointed if when Cooper gets out, his first words aren't the same as Doppel Cooper's in the finale where he asks where's Annie.
oh yeah, that'd be good. I hope he asks that.
If
How's
that's
Annie?
if that's yeah, how's Annie? If that's not his first thing that he says, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed.
I can see it happening. Uh, it's interesting. I what? Nah, I was going to speculate. What can Cooper take over someone, like borrow a body almost, and you can have like an avatar out there or something? But
I'm inclined to think not because he's not
yeah,
from there. Like obviously we
yeah,
saw that the
nah,
giant took over the guy in the hotel, Bob, as various. But yeah, we've seen them spirits take over people, but there's no precedence for someone taking over another person.
that is very fair. So we get to the the lodge. Now basically the rest of the episode can be summed up into two things. So I want to skip the lodge stuff for now. I want to talk about the scene with Doppelkoop because he has a nice big long scene in the middle of all this, but otherwise everything is on the lodge and into the ending of the episode kind of path,
Yes.
right? So I want to go with Doppelkoop, and he comes back to this motel room, and Daria's there, and she's sitting in underwear, which is one of the shots from the teaser, and she also dies. Again,
Yeah, right.
new characters in the teaser, dead by the end of the first two-parter. But he comes in and she's like, "Oh, I was on the phone, but I was talking to Jack, making sure he was doing the car thing properly." And he plays along. He's like, "Oh, you happy to see me?" He's like, "Oh, that's nice." And he's very intimidating, so it's all very well done by Kelly MacLachlan.
Yeah, asking, oh, where's your gun? It's not over here in this drawer like normal.
Yeah, he's making because presumably the body's still susceptible to damage. He's not indestructible, so
One assumes so.
yeah. So he gets the gun and he's holding her, and this is where obviously we see him be intimidating before this, but I think this is where you get the sense of just how evil Bob is in this scene because. I mean, obviously we know he's evil from Laura Palmer and everything he did in the show before, but in terms of being Coop, because he reveals, oh, Jack's been dead for 2 hours. I killed him after he did the because we had that one scene where he just holds his face and like sort of rubs his face.
Yeah, after he swaps cars.
Yeah, but he says that, and she like immediately realizes, oh, she's screwed. She's in danger. Like he will just kill her. She knows he'll just kill her. He won't even care. And he holds her and explains to her and plays back. And this is something I really liked. I like the evil Cooper also essentially uses a tape recorder.
I know, I loved it when he pulled that out. I was like, oh my god, this is fantastic.
It's like this. It's obviously he's using it for much, nefarious intentions and means, but it's I think it's really cool that Evil Coop also uses a tape recorder, which makes me think. I really hope after like Cooper gets out and assuming this happens. I mean, knowing this show, it could be the very last thing is he finally gets out and we don't really see much of it. But if he does get out, and I hope that he goes on a phone and he's like, Diane.
Yeah. Do you know, I mean, that was the bit that made me question how much of this person is actually Cooper. Like, because obviously we're looking at it as, oh, this is Bob for most of it, right?
I think there's some influence in there. Yeah, I think it's kind of like, do you know what, just to bring up the hit show Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I think it's like in that show when a vampire loses its soul, where some of the darker sides of the personality still remain in there.
Yeah, yeah, that's just thinking, is this like a twisted version of our Cooper, then with Bob on top, or is this just an empty vessel that Bob has? This seemed to imply the former to me.
I think it's Bob. I think Bob's in control, but he takes over the sort of demons of whoever was there before. I think we've seen that with Leland as well in the show. I think there was certainly like his own things that contributed to how his evil persona played out.
Okay, yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Especially in Fire Walk with Me. I think you clearly see that
No,
his
yeah, you're right.
his awkward fatherhood definitely played a part in how Bob
Yeah, yeah,
worked with
because
him.
obviously this Bob is very different to Bob in Leyland.
Yeah, and I think that's definitely part of it. And she's like, "Are you going to kill me?" And he's like, "Yes." but and he even offers, "Oh, this might save you death," because they mentioned Ray, who was with them earlier. Like, where is he? What was he doing? He's like, "Oh, he's in jail for crossing the border, illegally." And he's like, "I don't believe that." But did he tell you something about the secretary? And this is, Bill Hastings' secretary, about the coordinates, and she's like, "No, he said she told him something, but not what." And it makes you wonder, what was Ray involved in any of this murder that went on? Was he around for this? How is the timeline linking up between these various plots exactly?
Yeah, that's the thing I'm questioning. I know they're showing me these events, but I'm questioning the order of some of them.
Part of me almost speculates that everything with Evil Coop is like before a lot of the other stuff. Well, not all of it actually, because the murder happens. But I'm thinking
the reason that a lot of it can't be for me is because he keeps saying he's supposed to go back tomorrow.
Which is maybe I'm wondering that. Nah, I think you're right. But I'm still wondering about how some of it lines up. But
yeah,
so he kills her. It's very violent. He punches her a couple of times. I do like though when he lifts up the pillow after he shoots her. You can see like this smoke from the gunshot out of her head.
Yeah. I just would say he does ask her. He pulls out a card, like an ace of spades,
Oh, yeah.
but it's been altered. It looks kind of like a beetle. You did a little drawing, didn't you?
I did. You can't really see it. You can't see it in the camera. But no. I actually doodled it because I wanted to see it.
The closest I can think is it's kind of like a beetle.
It's a black circle with two little antennas, basically.
Yeah, well, it's not quite a circle though, is it? It's still got that like oblong shape.
Oh, sure, but it's very simple. There's not a lot of complicated detail. It's on a ace of spades card. He's drawn over the ace.
Yeah, and he goes, "Oh, this is what he's looking for," and I'm going, "What the shit is that?"
I don't know. Is that like? Obviously, this box exists, but is this what's inside the box? Like, if you actually could see it, maybe you can't physically see it, but this is what it is inside it. Is this thing?
I don't know.
Could be. I mean, as much as we're saying it looks like it's like an animal head or an insect head, like maybe that's just like a.
Maybe it's just something that happens to remind us of that because we need something to contextualize it.
Or maybe it's symbolic of what it is rather than being like an actual visual representation of it.
No. I think it has to be a visual representation because he says, "Have you seen this?" Like what? He asks her, and there'd be no point in showing her that and asking.
That's fair. Yeah, but maybe it's like, oh no, like maybe he expects this symbol to be elsewhere.
Yeah, that's possible.
Yeah, rather than the actual thing he's looking for, just looking like it.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Like, but no, so he kills her, and then he pulls out and I'm pretty sure this is like his old, like laptop. His old like FBI issued. Like laptop thing where he goes into the FBI database. The interface is ancient because it's from the early 90s. Which, by the way, reminds me when earlier on when Constance, the CSI is looking up the fingerprints and stuff. Now she's on a modern computer and it's a modern, more or less modern version of Windows because you can see the taskbar and all that, and it looks. But the actual like fingerprint database she brings up looks ancient.
I think that's just indicative of it's a smallish town, and they're not up to date with all their stuff.
But I just given that we have this as well, where he looks this up and it's on this ancient computer and everything looks old. I just wonder.
The moment that really threw me at this bit, when he does the download and it flashes through the screen. Like that, that's something that I haven't seen in a long time on TV.
Yeah.
It's something that I do associate with kind of 90s internet usage.
Oh, sure. And he's looking up plans for the prison. He wants to get to where he thinks Ray is, by the sounds of it. Though we know Ray's not actually in a prison.
Yeah.
We know he's elsewhere, but we'll get to that. So he does this. But, of course, the big thing in this scene, the thing that I think will send old fans going nuts, is the name Philip Jeffries. Agent Philip Jeffries. In my notes, I thought I put down Aliens Philip Jeffries, but it's Agent Philip Jeffries.
We debated we were trying to figure out what that word was.
Yeah, and then I realised it was just before the name, and it's just Agent, that's fine. Because I was trying to figure out why I wrote down Aliens. I couldn't remember what the alien thing was. But yeah, so the implication here is that Philip Jeffries is behind the hit. He's behind wanting Doppelkoop taken out.
Or at least that's what Double Coop thinks. Because he asks, "Are you Philip Jeffries?" It's
Oh
what he's
yeah,
expecting.
I mean maybe that's the job he sold her on because it's what makes sense to her. Maybe it's not actually what he intends the
Yeah,
end game to be, but uh, then then he talks to him. He talks to
yeah,
Agent Philip Jeffries, and if you don't remember who Agent Philip Jeffries is, he was David Bowie's character in Fire Walk with Me, who disappeared around that time. He showed up that one day in the bureau, and he was never really there, but everyone saw him. He said some cryptic things about, the Black Lodge over the convenience store, and he said some cryptic things about Cooper. Like, again, coming into this idea of time not moving the same way
yeah.
outside of our world, and like he knows that the Coop's going to not be Coop for some time, and he's like, you have to go back to the Black Lodge. That's basically the gist of the conversation, is you're going back.
Yeah, there was some interesting things. He says, he says you met with Garland Briggs,
Yeah, Major Briggs. Yeah, but
which I was like, "Ooh, okay."
and he says he doesn't know what it's about though.
No,
And Doppel Cooper doesn't tell him. He's like, no, I'm not telling you.
no, you're right. And then he says, "You're going back in tomorrow, and I will be with Bob again."
That is interesting.
That's what I found particularly interesting there.
Which makes it sound like Bob took for a time around the same time as Leland. Maybe because maybe there was times when he left Leland alone and he went and did other things. Did he go after Agent Jeffries? That's why Jeffries disappeared. And does Jeffries want Bob back? Does he want to be taken over again?
See, I was thinking, is it possible this is a message from within the Black Lodge, and I will be with Bob again because
Oh yeah, maybe.
Bob will be back here in the Black Lodge with me.
Yeah, no, I can see that.
I don't know. I mean, this is the problem. There's so many different possible
I wonder.
interpretations.
No, obviously they've got a voice actor here, at the very least. But I'm wondering if we'll see Phillips, like who's playing him. Obviously, it's been a long time, so they can get away with having a different actor. I think.
They could, but given how they've been doing it with everyone else, where if they're not coming back, they're just not using them.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to think they won't
Well,
respect.
I mean, that's the good thing about 25 years of time difference is you buy that some people, like, they've moved away from Twin Peaks, so they're.
Yeah,
Yeah.
things have happened.
I think the hardest ones to swallow is someone like Bob, where there's no reason why we shouldn't see him again, really. But obviously, life dictates that we can't. But obviously, don't hold it against them. It's not their fault. But anyone else is like, yeah, they moved away. Why is Donna not here? Because she moved. She went to San Francisco because James said it was so nice. But then he said, "Nah, I'm coming back." And
Ugh,
Donna was
speaking
left.
of James,
We'll get to him later. Let's not let's not jump the gun. So no, this was fascinating though. The fact, because obviously I remember them saying, "Oh, Firewalk with Me is important. It's not redundant. It's important to the overall thing that's going on." And the idea that they're taking, because I heard that they had ideas for season 3 back in the day, and when they started writing this, they looked at their season 3 and they took a lot from it. Not everything. There's some stuff that didn't work anymore. There's some stuff that they just didn't want to do anymore. But they took a lot of that season 3 plan. They also had plans for a sequel movie that went into this Jeffries mystery that they set up with David Bowie's character.
that makes sense to me now.
Yeah, and I imagine, because I think the idea there was is that they could continue Twin Peaks in movies without having to do anything with Laura or the town.
Yeah, the idea that they could explore Black Lodge related things.
Yeah. So the idea that there maybe some of the ideas they had for those movies, or the movie they were going to do after that, had the movie been a hit, that those ideas are also going to somehow find their way in. Not all of them, but some of them in some way.
Yeah. So isn't it kind of crazy that movie, basically failed, and that's the reason there wasn't any more. Yet here we are with a whole other season anyway.
It's exciting to, like, the Jeffries thing to come into it, to connect all this back round in some weird cosmic way. Like, even before Cooper ever went to Twin Peaks, there was some sort of plan in motion.
Yeah.
It's insane. But no. So this was fascinating. But the scene doesn't end there. Cooper actually goes next door to another character whose name I do have written down. Chantal. Yes. Who's next door, and her husband Hutch. They work together. They work for Cooper.
Yeah.
Doppel Cooper. And Cooper says, "Oh, I've got something for you to do. Get your husband, clean up next door." And then interestingly, who's played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, by the way, she it's like, oh, I was getting jealous of that bitch anyway. The implication that Doppelkoop was, having sex with her casually because he's evil and he does that.
Yeah.
But like this person also has a thing for him, and there's this weird command to the scene where she comes over and opens her legs, and he's like, "Oh, that's wet," and that's actually the end of the scene.
Yeah.
But again, the idea that he's got lots of people working for him, that he has almost a network that he's built up over the years.
Yeah, he's kind of got an empire, so even when he goes, the effects will still be felt. That's kind of what I'm getting anyway.
Yeah. But it's just interesting seeing all these different like layers of these characters and what has he been up to all this time, and but no, so that he's on his way to the prison because we see him in a car. Obviously we'll explain how we see that in a minute, but we see him in a car like on his way, presumably to this prison where he thinks Ray is.
Yes.
But no. All right, so let's get to the other stuff. The lodge.
The lodge. Yes. Here we go.
The lodge.
The meat of this 2-part discussion.
We're already at like an hour and 20 minutes.
This is one of the longest reviews we've ever done for anything.
God damn it, Lynch.
Oh, prick.
I'm actually really glad that after the next double, it's all single episodes from then on.
Oh, this as great as I'm enjoying this discussion. God damn it, if this was every week.
That said, we might even do 3 and 4 split up. When I watch 3, because we're not sure exactly when we're going to get to that for review. Worst case scenario, it'll be for airing probably next Sunday, because obviously 3 and 4 are available to watch. But there's a chance we may get it a bit earlier in that sort of midweek sometime, maybe like Thursday. And if not, if they seem like they're doable separately, like if I watch 3 and go, oh, we could do that on its own, we might do like 3 midweek and then 4 on Sunday, kind of thing, to sort of spread it out, so you're not, so there's something there, sort of, a week after this.
And then we don't have to sit here for 2 hours discussing it.
Exactly, it splits it up a little bit. So in the lodge, first thing is with the one-armed man, who says, "Is it future, or is it past?"
Yes.
All this timey-wimey.
And then he says, "Someone is here."
Someone is here. Yeah.
That's when he vanishes.
That's when he vanishes. And then Laura appears.
Yes.
And presumably, this is the "I will see you again in 25 years." 25 years.
Given that this scene plays out, I don't know if it's exactly the same because memory, but it seems mostly word for word.
It's really similar to the first dream that you ever had. I feel like her, but sometimes my arms are tied back. The way she gets up and walks in for the kiss.
The bit that stood out as different to me.
The face, obviously.
No, even before that.
Oh, okay.
Is when she says, "Are you Laura Palmer?" Before, did she not say, "I'm her cousin"? Because that's where we got that whole thing. Whereas before, she says, "I am Laura Palmer." But in this, she says, "I am Laura Palmer."
Well, interesting. She just said, "I sometimes feel like I'm her."
Yeah, but then later on, she does say, "I am Laura Palmer."
Yeah, she says it later, but she says that first, and then she says it.
Yeah,
when he just
obviously originally we got the whole cousin thing in that conversation.
Yes, which would imply that. I guess the whole point there is that she was actually warning them about the cousin coming, because Maddie hadn't shown up yet in the show.
Yeah.
Whereas here the intention's clearly different.
No, I agree.
And I think the whole thing where she puts her hand up and she opens her face, she takes her face off, and there's that flashing light, which indicates to me that she is now part of a lodge, not necessarily the Black Lodge, because because of the end of the Fire Walk with Me, it seems like she goes to the better place and she gets taken to a happier place. It also seems like she's a visitor here. This is the Black Lodge, but she's a visitor.
I think it's worth noting again that this is the waiting room.
Yes.
There's no maybe if she did go to the White Lodge, there's no reason she can't visit the waiting room. The entrance, the lobby.
Joe, what's funny about this scene as well is obviously she comes in and I was like, all right, I can tell it's her. I can see it in her eyes that it's her, because obviously she looks really different. But do you know when she really looked like Laura Palmer?
Go on.
It was when she smiled before she kissed him. It was the smile. It's the exact same smile.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Like I could tell it was her before, but that was like, oh no.
No, that was it. As soon as she walked in, I was like, oh, it's Laura. There was no doubt for any second that it was anything else. And obviously, she does the whole "Do you recognize me?" But
Yeah.
yeah,
And
the line that stuck out to me as well, just before she takes off her face, is she says, "I am Laura Palmer," and Cooper says, "But Laura Palmer's dead," and she says, "I am dead, yet I live."
and I think that's I live on in the lodge. Like
Yeah,
I
it's
am
like
now
this.
this.
This is the afterlife. This is still I exist,
Yeah.
which plays into a certain line later on, perhaps.
Perhaps. So she does that thing with the face, and she gets up, she walks over, and she whispers in his ear again, like the dream. So we don't know what she said. Obviously, I'm assuming it'll be something different than it was last time.
One assumes, yes,
And then she
but maybe
kisses
that
him.
is a dangerous mistake.
No, maybe. And then she leaves. She has this exit, which is terrifying. Honestly, like it feels like we see like the curtain kind of coming down, and then she sort of like the image of her skews, and she screams, and it feels like, and then we literally see her fly up out of frame as if she's been grabbed by something.
Yeah, like it's painful for her to do this.
Yeah, it's like someone's caught her here, and she's been taken. Uh,
I noticed something about the sound, and this is all the backwards speech where it's recorded backwards but played forwards.
even the footsteps are sort of backwards but forwards.
They're not. They're just backwards.
Oh yeah, sure.
I was looking. That's what I was going to say. Is what is so weird. The footsteps are just backwards because they have the click noise and then the reverse when they pull up. But
yeah,
it's not. It's weird.
Yeah, and obviously we talked about the weird jump cuts where it's like the blinking and it's like it's unnatural. It feels like time's moving kind of
Yeah.
unnaturally.
Yeah, it is strange. Obviously, what we're talking about the sound. There's something I noticed in the credits. I don't know if you caught this.
David Lynch is listed as one of the sound
He's
designers.
the only person listed as sound design.
It doesn't surprise me. I think he's heavily involved in the sound and all of his stuff.
Right, fair enough. I mean, I've never noticed it before. I mean, he
Yeah.
probably was on the original show as well, but I noticed it here because obviously I was thinking of this specific bit.
Yeah,
Here.
no, I think he does it for certainly his movies. Obviously, the original show was so long and had like all the network people involved. So, but that's why his movies have a distinct like sound design. There's a certain droning and a certain sound to the ambience that I associate with David Lynch, and it's because he does it himself. Like
Yeah.
he's the one doing that. He's also listed as one of the additional editors, so he's clearly very hands-on, like in post. Like he goes around and he makes sure everything's to his
Yeah.
liking. It's like it's his vision, which
He
for better
does
or
seem as
worse.
close as you can get realistically to auteur in
Aye.
the TV world.
Yeah, I mean, the only person whose name I see on more stuff is either Robert Rodriguez, who edits his own movies, or Tommy Wiseau, who's had like credited for tons of things. But so she exits. I mean, you don't see blood or anything like that, but it almost feels violent the way she's pulled out.
It does. It's very hard because she vanishes still like the others, but it's
Yeah.
very harsh.
And then the curtain comes up. We see an almost infinite, zigzag floor, and we see
Yeah. It's like the wind that blows the curtain
Yeah.
up first. There's like a draft first.
and we see the white horse.
Yeah.
And the two times we've seen the white horse before, both times it was right before Bob showed up to do something bad. In one case it was a murder, in one case it was a rape. But as we see, the horse is here.
Yes.
Almost insinuating that what just took Laura was something bad.
Okay.
At least I'm kind of pairing that up with something else in a minute, but
Okay. Yeah.
that's kind of how I'm reading it. And then we cut back, and Cooper's with the one-armed man again, and he
Yeah.
repeats his line: "Is it future or is it past?" Which, given that we've just looked back, is a very ironic line.
It is, and I was wondering, hang on, is Cooper stuck in a loop here at this point? I was like, how many times has he had this? Because obviously that conversation with Laura was pretty much the dream from before, and I was wondering like, how many times has he gone through this?
or is this scene with Laura literally another dream? Like,
Yeah.
is he just sitting there dreaming again, and it cuts back to place, and it's like, he's in the Black Lodge, but is this a dream that's been beamed to him from the White Lodge from Laura, like warning him?
Yeah, it's possible.
That maybe it's that. Bill looks back, and this is when the one-armed man like says it's
Takes him to another room.
well, he says it's time to go.
Yes.
So it's time, and obviously I'm thinking, oh, does he mean leave the lodge entirely? And I think he actually kind of does in a weird way, but obviously there's steps to be taken before that can
Yeah,
happen.
yeah, I think he does, but obviously, again, as we keep mentioning, time is not the same there. So
Yeah,
time to go does not necessarily mean immediately. It means okay,
yeah.
we're in motion.
And it takes him to the arm, which looks like a
A tree with a thing on the top.
an electric tree.
It's very much like the sycamore trees, actually.
Yeah, it's an electric tree with this weird demented baby head kind of thing without any features at the top.
Yeah, it's almost like a brain sort of thing.
It's almost like there's actually a little head inside it, but it's like covered in like a thick sort of skin bag thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Because
I
you
can
can
see
almost
it.
see the mouth moving behind the bottom of it
Yeah,
as it's talking. This is where you realise you're watching full on Lynch. Like he went full Lynch with this. There's
yeah,
not
yeah,
even
and it calls itself the evolution of the arm.
the arm. Are we talking about his arm? Like
Well, no, that's something I actually questioned because originally the whole thing was he pulled his arm off because it bore the what was it, the mark of God.
yeah,
Yeah, and I was running right. Is this, that arm literally, became this tree, and this mark of God gave it this whatever it is.
the evolution of the arm. Oh, I love.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm just spouting bullshit, but
No. I see what you're getting at. I love David Lynch. And he says, "Remember your doppelganger." We get actually a little flashback. We get to see some of the scenes. It reminds us of kind of how it went down, how he ran away from him. We see, and it was great to see that scene with Bob actually, just to, yeah, like, as much as he's not around and we can't actually have him in any scene, it was great to just cut back to that creepy laughing and stuff.
and in widescreen.
It's probably just cropped, I imagine.
It probably was, but it just still weird. When I was looking at it going, that's not right.
But yeah, so there's that, and he says, "Oh, your doppelganger's out there. He has to come back before you can leave."
Yeah,
So, and that was kind of where we ended up. We go to all the stuff at the motel, and we came back afterwards after all that stuff went
yeah,
down.
yeah. The tree also says, "I am the arm, and I sound like this," and it makes these kind of like noises, which I thought were actually very reminiscent of what the giant was listening to on the gramophone before. Where he says, listen to the sounds.
Oh yeah, we never actually mentioned that. Yeah, he said listen to the sounds. Maybe that's the giant. I mean, we're assuming that's later in the timeline because of the black and white and because of the cryptic clues. But let's say it's not. Is that like the giant trying to like tell him to listen to the tree, listen to the
Yeah.
arm?
Remember what the tree told you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, even if it's in the future, yeah. Remember what it said. Yeah, that could be what it's saying. But he says, so it says go now, basically, and you almost feel like, what is this his chance to get out, like, or go and find? And he goes, and then it's almost like a physical block, and he comes back the way there's some weird stuff with the statue, and then he goes back through, and he runs into Leland, who is sitting on just one of the chairs, and this is where I remember I said I thought something evil had taken Laura. This is where I pair it up with. It's something
Okay.
Leland says, because Leland seems to think that Cooper's getting out, and he says, "Find Laura."
Yeah, that's literally all he says.
Yeah,
Find Laura.
find Laura, and that to me says she's not where she's meant to be anymore. Something has taken her.
The only other possibility I have is find Laura. She can tell you the answers.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
That sort of thing. Like, no, she can fix this.
But I read it as a worried father rather than I did.
No, I agree.
Yeah.
That is the more likely scenario. I'm just putting all the options out there.
Yeah, and I kind of like the idea that Laura's maybe in trouble, and like, part of Coop's final victory is to help the person who has tried to help him somehow beyond the grave. Like all through this, she's tried to warn him about things. She's tried to help.
Yeah.
And she had a relatively happy ending at the end of her. I say relatively because obviously she gets killed, but the idea that her soul gets saved because she put on the ring and she went to the better place. Her soul was saved, and the idea that she's in trouble gives, like, again, it ties it all back into the original show and gives him the same kind of thing to fight for, as well as his own self. The fact that he failed. And we talked a lot about that in the finale review of season 2.
Yeah.
But so I thought that was really interesting. So he then goes out and he opens the curtain again, but instead of seeing another identical room, he sees the road. It's as if he's in the sky.
The real world. Yeah.
And he sees the car, and we see it's Doppelkoop driving down the road, presumably to this prison where he's going to try and get his information from Ray.
Yes.
So there's that, and then that's where things go full on. I'm going to say 2001: A Space Odyssey, because it was very reminiscent to me of the traveling through the cosmos at the end. You know, the
Yeah. Just a touch before that as well, though. The arm says my doppelganger. Now, I don't know what its doppelganger would be, but that's what it said.
Well, hold on a second. If we're saying it's the mark of God, does that imply that? Because
It's the opposite.
yeah, is Bob the doppelganger of him? Like, because if we're going with the idea that there's doppelgangers within them that are inside this place, like, you know, there was a dark side of Cooper who was in here. Is Bob the doppelganger to God, essentially, from the White Lodge?
Yeah. So like the ultimate good and the ultimate bad of the lodges.
Yeah. Is he's supposed to run the lodge essentially, but he wants out because he wants things in the real world. He wants all this stuff. As we said earlier, he desires to just take what he wants and cause chaos and whatever else. Right, so it gets really trippy. It falls through the floor. All the zigzags come to life and sort of change like sort of heights. And things.
They go up and down. They're like tripping him up almost.
And he starts falling through what looks like space almost at rough speeds. Very, very camera shaking, very disoriented.
Yeah, and to go back to where I said how she wanted to exist earlier, this is where I think it was the arm that says it. It just says non-existent.
Yes, yeah, that's right before he falls.
Yeah, right before he falls. It's very loud and clear. It comes right through. I think that'll be, is it saying, you don't exist? This isn't real? Is it a threat?
I don't know. Like, part of me thinks it's like saying, oh, the actual trap holding you here is non-existent. You can travel wherever you want in the end. Because he falls through space, essentially, and he lands on the box, like outside the building, the outside part of it, and then he comes in. He sort of falls
through it, yeah.
And he's visually inside the box, and this is where time comes into place because this takes place before the previous scene. It's when Boxman's out looking for the guard in the toilet.
And this is the bit that comes back into why I said maybe it happens when no one's looking, because, again, as soon as he's out of the room, that's when this happens.
I think that's fair. I think my only dispute with that is that we have no evidence to suggest that every other time he's not in the room that something happens.
No. Maybe it's not every time he's not in the room, but just maybe it can only happen when he's not looking.
Yeah, I'm not sold in the it only happens when you're not looking quite yet.
No, that's fair.
I'm more inclined to think the other thing that pops up that killed or seemingly killed him was a cause of what happened, like we said. And I think what this Cooper scene does though is it confirms that this box is like a secondary entrance or a bridge or even just like a communicator to the Black Lodge.
Yeah, it's like I think it is like a gateway, because obviously he comes outside. He's on the box outside.
True. Yeah.
And then he goes into the box, and then he comes through the hole. Like, he comes through into our world, essentially. Which is funny, it's like one half of the box is in each world.
Do you know what's funny about that? Is because he was floating, it reminded me a lot of like someone on a space shuttle, like floating through the entrances in the ship. I thought that was interesting. But yeah, so before they come in though, he like it starts like boxing him in. That's like this like box.
Yeah, it really adds like depth to it though, doesn't it?
It's like and it boxes him in as if he's not meant to be there, and it goes out and it goes back in, it goes out.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. Is the reason it's going out and in is he fighting back against it?
Yeah. And then eventually it sort of wins and he starts falling through space again, and he just keeps falling, and we don't really see where he lands. And I think it's very interesting that when he like it cuts from this, it cuts to Sarah Palmer. Like we cut to someone in Twin Peaks, and I thought it was interesting. Like I'm like, is he somehow getting towards Twin Peaks? Is this journeying towards Twin Peaks like everything else is? And that's why we end. To view this two-parter as the full first episode. Like, is this entire journey to get to Twin Peaks at the end where now it feels like it's relevant to Twin Peaks? Like, because we.
Yeah, now we're back.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just kind of theorizing. Before we talk about that scene, I wanted to go back to just something that I thought I had. in the opening scene, the black and white scene with the giant.
Oh, we're going all the way back. Okay.
When Cooper leaves that scene, he flickers out as if he's a video effect.
Yes, you're right. He doesn't vanish in the same way that everyone else vanishes.
No, he flickers out as if he's like a piece of footage.
Yeah, like a hologram almost.
So, keeping with the idea that this is communicating later on, I'm actually going to speculate that he intentionally goes to this box to communicate with the giant later on.
Oh, I like it.
And I think
it's a way of controlling his dream and having like a lucid dream almost.
And that's why I think he flickers out, is because it's through these cameras or something, through the box.
Yeah. Maybe the power fails or something.
That's just what I could be completely wrong, but that's what I'm reading right now.
No, it makes sense. Like you say, it definitely was this other effect of like a hologram, a projection.
Yeah, and that was kind of what solidified the idea that it was maybe in the future for me, is that he knows about this box, because he's had this experience. So when he gets out, he's going to go back to the box so he can do this.
The other reason, the big reason I think it's in the future is, black and white we typically associate with being past and old. And I think that's just that's the most obvious misdirect.
Stop right there. Is it future or is it past?
Very good, very good.
See? Comes together.
Bringing it all back around.
Yeah, so it goes to Sarah Palmer, and she's just sitting, being miserable, smoking ridiculous amounts, because that's what she does. And she looks like a broken person. She's been alone now for 25 years.
She's just watching the TV.
But what is she's watching, though? She's watching... what type of cat was it? Was it lions, or...
I think it was leopards.
Maybe leopards, yeah. But they were eating a ram, and there was like 3 lions or leopards eating this ram, and proper violent and consuming it. And I felt like, this is a warning. Well, that's not the TV sending her a message. Just in terms of thematics for the show, it's a warning to us. It's like thematically saying the evil of the world is going to try and devour us. Like, and maybe this is what the fight's going to be about. This is what Cooper needs to win, because if he doesn't, the innocent people, or at least maybe the town of Twin Peaks, is going to be devoured by evil. And
it's kind of like the hunt is on, so to speak.
Which is partly why I feel like this feels like the end of the first episode in a weird way, because it does get us back to Twin Peaks, and it maybe sets up, in a subtle kind of symbolic way, what's at stake.
I also find it interesting, like you said, it was a ram that it was eating, and rams are often symbolic, very like biblical, as a sacrificial animal. This is what you sacrifice to God to represent innocence. So that does make sense there.
And then we cut to what turned into the final scene, and I didn't expect this to be the final scene. I feel like I actually like how it ends, but it's a really weird way to end the episode, because it doesn't feel like a big moment. It feels like a sort of quieter moment. We cut to the bar, the Bang Bang bar, and there's a musical artist on stage. I actually really like that song, Chromatics. Oh, you know them? Did you know them before this? Or
I did.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Really cool song, and they're playing. The singer from the original show, I know is in it at some point. Like, I know, like, that we're going to get that, because that we've seen it a couple of times in the original show. But we have Chromatics here, and we see Shelley's out with her friends, and they're all like middle aged. She's talking about her daughter named Becky, who's dating some guy, and she doesn't feel good about him. I'm assuming I feel like we will get more of these Twin Peaks characters once we say, maybe when Cooper is back in the town, we'll learn about all these new characters a bit more.
Yeah, I think that is the time that we do it, because we learn it with him.
Yeah,
and we get this. Oh, look how much we missed.
It's almost like we've been in limbo for 25 years with him.
Yeah,
I like that idea. That's pretty cool. But she's with them. James walks in with a new character who's English. He's got like a weird green or blue glove on, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
But they go up and get a drink, and Shelley's friend notices him, and he's staring at her, and she's like, "Oh, does James have a crush on you?" Blah blah blah. And so one of her other friends comments, "Oh, like, he's kind of creepy or weird," and it's like, he's not weird. He was in a motorcycle accident, but James is cool. James has always been cool. My one complaint about this episode is that line. Bullshit.
Yeah. I honestly, I'm also glad they told me it was James, because again,
did you not recognise him?
I didn't know.
Oh, I knew who it was immediately.
I didn't get it at all.
I could see it. I don't know. Maybe...
Some of them I can just tell, and others I'm like, who's this?
That said, though, I like, as much as I'm laughing, because obviously the James plot went really shit in season 2, and we kind of grew to hate him for it. I actually did like this scene. I liked how it played out. I liked this weird sense of like, because we've never really seen Shelley and James interact in the original show. But this idea that she thinks of him as this cool guy from her youth, that she like sticks up for him. There's something just interesting, or just comfortable about the idea that all these Twin Peaks characters that we grew and loved, and to us, sure, we'll have some new interesting characters, but these are the old characters we really care about and we're excited to see again. There's something cool about them kind of sticking up for each other, and like everything they went through back in that show kind of bound them together in a weird way.
Yes.
In some extent, and I kind of liked her sticking up for him. But then she looks over to someone else at the bar who's eyeing her up, and smiles back at him, and it's Ray.
Yeah.
He's not in prison, and if he did get coordinates, are the coordinates Twin Peaks? Is he here because whatever evil Coop wanted, is it in Twin Peaks? Which feels like the first place he should look, given where he came from.
That would be my concern. If that is the coordinates, that feels a bit easy. Almost like, okay, if he's looking for something, he knows what he's looking for.
Yeah.
Already.
Unless maybe it's a case of either he just didn't know it was in Twin Peaks, so it'll be like a weird thing. Oh, it's back where I started. It'll be like a symbolic thing, like that way. Or the information he got from Bill's assistant was like, oh, the answer is in Twin Peaks. Like someone in Twin Peaks knows. Like it's more of a chain of.
Yeah. That makes more sense to me. I think.
But he's here. What's he after? How much does he know about Evil Coop and Bob? Like he seems to know some stuff. He seems to have something up his sleeve that he wants to do.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then it ends in a really interesting way where. Interesting just in a filmmaking point of view, that it's different from the show. It doesn't cut to credits. The song, the band keeps playing the song, and then credits just start to roll over it, and for the whole credits rolling, we have this song playing in the background.
It reminds me a lot of what the show did at the start of an episode often. When you'd have the credits music would come up, but because they had so many names, they'd kind of play it over a scene that almost didn't matter. It would just be an atmospheric scene. Which is interesting, because what they've done here is that they've taken all the cast out of the opening titles so that it's not ridiculously long. It's much quicker. You want the theme tune, you want to feel like you're starting an episode of Twin Peaks, but they left all the cast till the end credits. And I actually really like this. It's worth mentioning that if you watch this as two single... I actually did it both. I watched it as it aired, and it was one episode, and then I watched it split up on the on-demand, and... They add in credits at the end of the first episode, and the credits at the end of the first episode, if you watch it that way, is that it cuts back to the black and white scene of the giant, and it just focuses in on the record player that he's listening to. Yeah,
you just hear that, and it works well enough. But I definitely liked it felt more like one big episode to me, where it ended with it finally feeling like we got back to like some of the other characters in Twin Peaks.
No, I agree.
And I think I give it an interesting minute. I think each one will end with the idea of the credits just playing over something. It'll just be interesting to see what it chooses each episode. Yeah,
and it makes it very different, because obviously most of the episodes of the old show ended on the picture.
Yeah.
And obviously this is, and that evoked its own ideas and themes. Every time it cut back to that, it was like, no, this is what this show is about. And it wasn't until after the case was solved that we changed away from that.
Yeah.
So now it's like, okay, what is this episode summed up as, and the mood.
And I also think it is this thing. Obviously, some episodes I expect will end with a sinister note. Some will end with a cliffhanger, foreshadow, or something. But this one wanted to end with this comfort of coming back to Twin Peaks and having this, song that. And even the lyrics, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I'm pretty sure the lyrics are talking about like time and coming home or something like that. Like it's talking about time and time again, or and the whole thing feels like it's easing you back in. It's like, okay, we're coming back to Twin Peaks. We're not fully there yet, but we're coming.
So as for some endings coming out, I will put money on one of them just being black, the credits rolling, and silence, or if not silence, the low hum.
Oh yeah,
that'll be one of them, guaranteed.
Might even be the finale in Lynch.
It might well be.
Oh dear. To sum up, we went through it, we've given theories, we've analysed it a bit, but to give like actual review, like good, bad sort of thing to end this on. I think it was really good. I think it was intriguing. I think it's introduced new mysteries. I like a lot of the new things it's doing. I like how it's making me think. It's doing all that. If I have any complaints, legitimately, I could have used a bit more synth music, just a little bit more. But maybe they're keeping that for when it feels more like Twin Peaks, when Cooper's out and about. Maybe. Yeah. So maybe they're that, because I'm looking forward to hearing Laura's theme at some point when it's relevant.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised we didn't get it. When we were with Laura in this one.
We never got it in the Red Room, though, and that makes sense.
We didn't. We got almost no music in the Red Room at all.
Yeah.
In this episode.
If I have any complaint, I would say maybe the scene with Ben and Jerry, maybe the one with Jacoby, feel very on their own. Like,
They do. They're the ones that I think I'd have saved till Coop was out and we were doing the town as a
maybe,
whole. I'd
yeah.
have waited with those, I think.
But maybe there's a reason why they're being foreshadowed early. Like,
It's possible, yeah.
maybe by the time we get to like that point, like the plot with Beverly and the hotel like develops to something that has to be at a certain point before. No, maybe there's a reason
Yeah,
for it.
yeah. I mean, I'd
Um,
argue that first scene with Lucy as well. Obviously, the idea is it's establishing they're out and someone's looking for them, so they'll come back later. But it kind of feels like, again, it doesn't do much in this episode.
Yeah, and I think the scenes with Hawk and stuff though work because they are tying into Coop's stuff. They're like, oh, Coop's
Right.
missing. And,
Exactly.
yeah. So that's fine, and obviously seeing at the bar at the end because it feels like we come to Twin Peaks after he's fallen through space, kind of idea.
Yeah.
This is where he's going to land. Maybe he's not landed yet, but it feels like he's going to land here.
Yeah, no. Overall, I mean, I love these episodes. As you can probably tell by how long we've talked about them. I mean,
We don't talk this long if we think it's bad.
oh no, that's not true. There are two times we talked this long. When we hate something with a passion and
sure.
we tear it to shreds scene by scene, or when we love it this much and talk about it scene by scene. It's either or.
It's full Lynch, and if you don't like full Lynch, then you're going to hate this. But if you like David Lynch, if you're excited by an 18-hour David Lynch movie, probably his last, given that he said he doesn't want to make movies anymore, I think this is a special trip.
Yeah,
It's amazing that it exists.
I legitimately think my biggest complaint would probably be that it doesn't feel like Twin Peaks. It feels David Lynch, but it doesn't feel like Twin Peaks yet.
Yeah, and I think it might never fully feel exactly like Twin Peaks, and I think
No, because things have moved on. It's matured.
yeah, and I also think like had David Lynch been able to do whatever he wanted back then, it probably would have felt
More
less
like
like
this,
Twin Peaks
yeah.
and more like this. That said, what I think is interesting is I think so much of the show came out of the fact that they had to change a couple of things. Like the network made them reveal who the killer was. If they'd never done that, he could have never made Fire Walk with Me. That movie wouldn't have existed because so much of the mythology has been kind of shaped because he had to reveal a couple of things, and it's just really interesting now that
No, I agree. That's something I always say is art is shaped by the restrictions and the limitations.
And
it's when you're told you can't do something, you have to work around it, and those solutions tend to create the best ideas, in my opinion.
And honestly, we'll never know for sure, but like, is waiting 25 years and getting this better than just getting a season 3 at the time? Like,
Yeah.
by the time we're finished, I'll have maybe an inkling, but I won't know for sure because I could never
Yeah,
see.
because you'll never have seen the season 3.
Yeah. But this feels more special because we had to wait. I mean, we didn't wait because we just watched it before, but just in the sense of the world had to wait 25 years. And
Yeah, it feels more special in terms of it's aged up, so it makes it feel the story has more weight with Cooper being stuck and Doppel Cooper out in the world. Having that out there for 25 years versus the year odd that it would have happened if it had been till season 3 at the time.
Yeah.
It feels like it has so much more weight and so much more impact when he will return.
And of course, terrifying at times as well. That shimmering beast ghost thing was fantastic. Right out of something like Silent Hill.
Laura screaming still terrifies me.
Oh,
just her
glorious.
scream fills me with dread every time I hear it.
Glorious. So hopefully people are not intimidated by the length of this review.
Yeah, they may well be. Much like this show now, this review might be for the hardcores.
Yeah, I'm getting that feeling. So, by all means, let us know what you thought of the episodes. Definitely theorise in the comments below. Now, it's a little bit weird this first week because some of you might have watched 3 and 4 already. We're going to ask you not to talk about 3 and 4 in the comments, but because even when we're working through the show, that was kind of the rule: is don't spoil anything past the point that the video was talking about.
And you were all very good at that, actually.
Yeah,
So,
everyone who watched
thank
was really good at that. And not specifically even for us, just for other commenters. Like if they're working through the show, they've only watched 1 and 2. They should, so obviously if you've seen 3 and 4, you can't really theorise with us right now because you've got more information. But look forward to the 3 and 4 review. Possibly split up. We'll dictate that once I've watched 3. Because we can also fit it in easier as well if it's just the one at one point in the week.
As if you watch any of our other stuff, you may be aware scheduling is tough this week.
Yeah, partly because Twin Peaks decided to throw 4 episodes at us, and a few other things. So extra work hours randomly in the worst week possible. God damn it.
Pretty much.
But no, so let us know what you think. Get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz for channel updates and stuff like that. If you like what we do, if you liked us rambling for this long and theorising about crazy ideas, Yeah, go over to patreon.com/MildFuzzTV, see some of the bonuses over there, and just get a nice warm fuzzy feeling for supporting the channel. But if not, that's cool too. Watch, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Thank you once again for watching, guys. Is it future or is it past? Have you got any vanilla? Have you got any vanilla?